got an infectious energy and mindset, and it's a fantastic.
All right. Well, good morning. A lot of fun to be in front of y'all today. One of the few times that I call today being fun, but a good opportunity to introduce 17 scholarship players that we have signed today, and two preferred walk-ons as well. Coming from 5 different states, we got 9 guys on defense and 8 guys on offense, kind of covering the gamut. If you add our preferred walk-ons, again, that would be 9 and 9, and then a specialist as well. But excellent group of guys. Hit most of our targets in a really competitive space, and certainly with the transfer portal coming up, we'll have a few additions there, I would expect. But we really did well in the state of Oklahoma. It's important to us that that's where everything starts for us. And so we signed 6 players scholarship-wise from the state of Oklahoma, and then a specialist as well, and then had 6 players currently from the state of Texas, Arkansas 2, Utah 2, and Washington, D.C. with 1. On the defensive side of the ball, I'm really excited about the players that we signed, starting with our defensive lineman, C.J. Nixon out of Weatherford. It was funny, 2.5 years ago, driving down I-35, I think I was coming back from Dallas for something, and somehow C.J. was on my feed, and I probably pulled over into a rest stop. I wasn't watching him as I was driving down the interstate, but got an opportunity to watch his video, sent it immediately to Coach Chavis. I said, this guy will be the #1 player in the state, when he's a senior. And he's one of the best basketball players in the state, one of the best football players, all of his best football still ahead of him. Long, rangy, super athletic, and has a chance to be a fantastic player in the future for us. Alex Schildknight, just a football player, man, in every sense. There's nothing that he can't do. Played defensive end and certainly played tight end as well at Wagner. Comes from one of the best programs also in the state of Oklahoma. But he's as tough as they come. Came to camp a few years ago and just was so explosive, so twitchy, just a natural pass rusher, but just a fantastic athlete, physical toughness, leader, consistent, all the things that you want from your best players. And then Trent Wilson, one of the best defensive linemen in all of high school football out of Washington, D.C., comes from, again, a great program. As he looks like he's 40, he's got a great maturity to him. Everybody in the country recruited him, and really thankful that he saw the things that we're building here and wanted to be a part of it, wanted that development and being in the system. But got great skill, super athletic, really naturally powerful, has really good fundamentals already that will transition, but in a really mature mindset to him. He doesn't flinch no matter what happened. People continue to try to, like all these guys, continue to try to recruit him. Recruiting never stops until the wee hours of the morning last night. And what I appreciate, man, there was no drama whatsoever. And I say this a lot, and this is my 30 years of experience in doing this, that if there's drama in recruiting, whatever that means, okay, if there's drama in recruiting, there's going to be drama when they come to your campus. So just always something that I've always kept in my back pocket and been very keen to. Marcus James comes from one of the best. Again, we signed 3 guys from one of the best programs in the state of Oklahoma at Carl Albert, and what they've been able to achieve is really special. to have the level of elite consistency is really remarkable. So, but Marcus has been a big part of that. He's a very versatile outside linebacker, plays tight end, can play middle linebacker, can rush the passer really well. A good athlete that plays in space. We noticed him a few years ago coming to camp. Just a really long, rangy, athletic guy, and really excited to see what he's going to develop into. Got a great frame. Was a fantastic basketball player for them as well. So love where he's at right now. Our defensive backs, we signed 5 of them. I love our defensive backs. We got length, we got speed, great instincts. That group has a tremendous football IQ, and it's a confident group of guys. They're highly skilled as opposed to maybe a raw athlete, so to speak. These are guys that they're passionate about being great DBs. So some guys have to learn how to become a defensive back, and they're a great athlete, but not this group. So between Cortland Gilroy, Malik Hawkins, Tristan Haynes, Amarion Man Robinson, and Marcus Wimberly, this is a group of guys that know how to go line up at defensive back. They know where to put their eyes. They know how to flip their hips. They know how to attack the ball. They know how to tackle and chew up space, running the alley. And this is a group of guys, like I said, they're incredibly confident group of guys. So they all had elite level of success their senior years as well. Amarion's season was cut short to an ankle injury, but he'll be back in no time. They come from really good programs as well. And, Amarion and Marcus both from the state of Arkansas, the top 2 DBs in that state. Again, it's a great combination. 2 kind of different kind of backgrounds, but man, they're like 2 long lost brothers. And but it's a group that's also really grown close to each other. But really excited about that group of guys. They're going to help us immediately on offense. Kind of a surprise for everybody here. We lost a quarterback that was committed for over a year and a half, and so he decided late, a little over a week ago, that he was going to go somewhere else, and so really felt like we needed foundationally to have a freshman quarterback in the room, and we were able to get Jet New from Lehigh, Utah. A really successful program, a really skilled, developed quarterback. He's got a great frame. We'll continue to put on some weight to it, but his mechanics and his fundamentals are exceptional. The way he climbs the pocket, his accuracy, his ability to push the ball down the field, his instincts, incredible quickness and his release, and great field vision, leadership qualities. We signed Darius Afalava from his same community. Darius was able to kind of bridge the gap for us as well from some of the things that I needed to hear from somebody that maybe knows him as a fellow athlete there in the community, but really good football player. And we were really fortunate to be able to get him, just a polished quarterback, and he's a winner. Comes from an excellent program there as well. Offensive linemen, right now we've got 4. And Darius Afalava, Ryan Foje, Owen Hollenbeck, and Sean Hutton. Again, Darius, top lineman in the state of Utah, big, strong, powerful, comes from another great program, and that group overall, just powerful, athletic, incredibly physical, incredibly physically tough. And this is a mature group of guys that really believe they're going to be able to come into a really good young group of offensive linemen and going to make an impact, going to make us better. No developmental, quote-unquote, type of guys in that group. This is a group of guys that really can line up and play football for us right away once they understand the language and those type of things. Again, Ryan Foje, again, I think one of the most undervalued offensive linemen in all of high school football, a guy that we identified at camp a few years ago, a few summers back, and Coach Biedenbow did a great job of putting his name on him and offering him, and he's developed and he's one of the most dominant players in the country there out of Houston. Owen Hollenbeck from Melissa, Texas, was forced out of position this year, but probably be a center for us, and one of the strongest high school football players in the country. He's strength and conditioning, a weight powerlifting champ, and this is a guy that can move mountains, and but a guy that we're really excited about his physical attitude, mental attitude, all of those things. He's really a good player. And then Sean Hutton from Louisville. Louisville's been a good place for the Sooners over the years, and Sean's a versatile inside-outside player, again, undervalued. Tough kid, can really move his feet, and I'm really excited about Sean. And we were able to get Torrey Blaylock. Coach Murray was identified Torrey a long time ago, one of the most dynamic and explosive running backs in the country. He also, amongst other things, he was part of the 4x1 national record. 4x1 team. They broke the national record this last spring at 38.92. And so that's a pretty special accomplishment amongst others. But, man, he's a home run hitter. And same thing, didn't flinch, has been committed for a long time, wonderful family, athletic family, and we're incredibly excited about Torrey. Our wide receivers got two of the best athletes in the country in Manny Choice out of Dallas, and Elijah Thomas, one of the fastest players and the most explosive players in the country here from Chakotah. And Elijah can do a lot. He can play on either side of the ball. He sends Coach Hall and I, we got a little three-man group text, rather, and he sends us his weekly defensive highlights as a safety, as a tackling and intercepting. And, man, he's just one of the most low-maintenance players that I've ever been a part of recruiting. He was our first commitment in July of 23. And everybody in the country, when they found out about Elijah, came after him, and he had no interest whatsoever. He's truly Sooner-born, Sooner-bred, and appreciate his loyalty. And Manny Choice, too, one of the most freakish, longest receivers in the country. He plays like a slot with length. Sometimes they're long striders, and it doesn't look like they're going as fast because they're taking longer strides. And he actually plays like a slot with his length. He's tough. He's super explosive. He's great. Catching a runner, what he can do after the catch is pretty special. And he has a tremendous catch radius. Wonderful family. Same thing. They've known for a long time they wanted to be Sooners, and really thankful for them as well. Maybe one of the most natural football players in this class, and maybe the most undervalued, is Trene Washington, another Carl Albert product. There's nothing that guy can't do. We've projected him as a tight end. He came to our camp this last summer as a commit, and Coach Finley was able to work him out. He was fantastic. He's got natural hands. He's super physical. He's got a great frame. He played safety and corner and receiver for Carl Albert. I saw him have pick sixes, great toe touch receptions as a receiver. Physical presence to them. I was able to watch them twice over the last 2 years in person, and one of the most unassuming guys as well. And but when he gets into the weight room and starts working with the fundamentals, man, again, there's no limits on what he can do. But just great instincts as a football player. And I think I covered, all of those guys. Seth Freeman is a long snapper, and really excited out of Moore. Really excited about his, those are undervalued guys. You gotta carry a couple of those that are really good on the team, and really a guy that, again, another Sooner-born, Sooner-bred guy. He's been dying to be a Sooner his whole life. So thankful for Seth and his family. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Brandon, I wanted to ask you about Ben Arbuckle. We've seen his impact with the quarterback commit, or signee now. Can you talk a little bit about bringing Ben on board and just what he means to this offense and what he meant to this recruiting class, and getting him on board and being able to sell his style to these recruits.
Yeah, and I was remiss in not bringing that up with Jet New. He had recruited Jet for a while, tried to get him, offered him, had him up on campus a few different times, he and his family. And so he was a guy that played a pivotal role in being able to get Jet, through, I think there's a trust, knowing what he was signing up for and who would be mentoring and tutoring. And once I was able to kind of bridge the gap with both Jet and his family, what our program is all about, things that are important to us, standards, expectations, values, beliefs, how we do what we do, all of those types of things. It was a slam dunk for both sides. And but yeah, Ben, again, I spent a lot of time, almost 2 months, looking at the best candidates in college football, and got to watch and there's certainly, you look at a lot of things, you take recommendations, you talk with people they work with. I love watching the tape, because that to me is the ultimate resume, and you get a feel for things. I've studied offenses more than I've studied defenses over the past 3 decades, and have an appreciation for style, presentations, sequences, answers, game plans, personnel, and utilizing the personnel, those types of things, and a lot of little things that a lot of people don't see, maybe checks that maybe some people have built into their systems, things of that nature. And then there's a lot of analytics that maybe support what you see, or maybe bring to light what you need to pay attention to. Overall efficiency, explosiveness, first downs, third downs, red zone, points per possession. There's a really cool report that the analytics, some of the best analytics people use. It's called the Snyder formula, and it's after our own Hall of Famer in Kansas State, Bill Snyder, one of the best offensive minds in the last several decades in college football. He has his own report, and everything that I continue to look at, and there's a lot of excellent candidates that we narrowed it down to, and Ben continued to be at the top of the list in the things that he's been able to do. Just a short resume, and but I look at the quality, not necessarily the quantity, and then I got to look at the other things, personality, maturity, leadership skills, colleague testimonials, things of that nature. What have they done with what they've had? Again, I was offered an associate head coach and defensive coordinator at a really good program when I was 27 years old. 2 years of experience, never calling it, and there at Kansas State. So I'm just a living testimony that, not that, I was pretty good early, and I've been having a pretty good career, over the course of 3 decades. And so, or maybe you look across on the other side of the ball in Zach Alley, doesn't have a long resume of calling defenses and in the SEC, like no resume in calling it in the SEC. But at the same time, I look at all those other things, what it is that we're doing in the schemes. There's lots of different schemes that are very successful, and but for me, I think what Oklahoma needed and has been really good at over a long period of time is the ability to attract great quarterbacks, and certainly explosive athletes that you can push and challenge people, put pressure on defenses vertically through the air, but also be an offense that has great balance and punish people in the run game and attack people where they're most vulnerable. You've got to have balance. You've got to have efficiency. You've got to have game control. And you've got to be able to utilize the personnel that you have and keep people off balance. And so when you peeled it all back through several conversations with a lot of people and certainly interviews, if you will, looking at the tape as video evidence and the multiplicity and things of that nature, I continue to come back to Coach Arbuckle.
Brent, as you just detailed, lots goes into that hire, but could you drill down a little bit more on just how Ben has developed quarterbacks? I mean, his track record is practically without fail. Is it your sense that it's getting the guys that will developing them, a combination? What do you?
Yeah, it's all of it. You know, you have to be able to identify without question. But most importantly, once you get them, you have to be able to develop them and put them in a position to be successful. And you know, so he's had 4 really good ones that, you know, I think where he's been the full-time coach, and they all had elite level success and breaking national records. And a lot of people have good players, but they don't necessarily bring out the best in them. And so I look at that's an important thing for sure. And but he's had again the quality of what he's been able to do with his opportunities. He's nailed it, hit it out of the park.
Is there anything about the 4 guys that either a through line thread with all of them, or maybe they're different in how they've been successful with him, and maybe that's been appealing to you?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Whether they are the athletic dual threat guy or just a pure passer, you've seen him lean on their strengths and promote their strengths, develop through their weaknesses and protect those as well. But you know, helping them make great decisions, putting them in a position to be successful, not asking them to do things that they're not great at, and so those were the things that, you know, stood out the most. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brent, you got 17 guys here. I think last year you guys had 27, the year before that maybe 27 signees. The smaller class, is that just because of you know, numbers and the scholarship? I know that comes into play in terms of how many scholarships you can give, transfer portal. I mean, is it one of those things where, you know, in college football now you're seeing teams maybe sign fewer guys and go after more experienced guys in the portal, or is it just, I guess, could you explain the lower number of guys?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you fill your class and fill your numbers, but we have 81 freshmen and sophomore on our roster, and I know I talked about that several times during the season. Probably, I don't know what the number is now, but probably over 8,000 snaps went to freshmen and sophomore this year, which is a tremendous amount of snaps. So we're not losing as many guys, you know, as of right now, and so that plays a huge. You're not losing as many, you can't bring in as many, so that plays a big part. We'll stick to a philosophy that we want to build the program from high school, and that be the foundation of development, and retain guys. That would be ideal, and where you're not having as much turnover year in and year out. But we are dealing in a time and day in college football it's different than it's ever been, and with the ability for players, it's open to free agency, and so we're not going to be immune from losing guys that we're not counting on losing. And then, as I've been talking about for well over a year now, the day has come where we're going to have to ask some good players that we're going to have to help them move on and find a fresh start. So not a fun part of the job, but one that we've been positioning ourselves for, and we'll attack the portal in the areas that we feel like we'll have the most need, and in the spots that make us better immediately, and add to what we have. And so we'll have a good majority of our team back. Not losing, again, a ton of production, but where we are losing the production, we have good young players that we've been bringing along, and then we'll add to that where we see fit, you know, needed some experience as well through the portal. Mm-hmm.
Brent, in the release for Coach Arbuckle, you had said that looking forward to him working alongside Coach Finley, Coach Beatonbow, Coach Murray, Coach Jones. That means those guys being retained at the position spots that haven't been determined yet heading into the fall?
Yeah, we'll retain all of them. Mm-hmm.
Left side, James.
You know, Brent, when's Ben, Coach Arbuckle going to be here? But you know, I also want to talk about, you know, you had several receivers at one point committed. You ended up with 2. Is that part of what you're talking about when you had to make decisions about a roster, how many guys you can bring in, and that even affected the recruiting class at that point?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's nothing easy about it, but in navigating it, and some of it has been planned ahead and going according to plan. And then you have to have some flexibility and be able to pivot. Maybe some of that from a strategy standpoint, doing things that maybe you haven't had to do in the past. But uniqueness in, we had several guys hurt this year that this could have been their last year. And so we'll bring a few of those guys back, is what we're planning to right now. And then you look at where are the spots on your roster where maybe you have a few more numbers and where you need to, trim some fat and get your numbers and with a little more balance, and then find the areas on your roster that you need some immediate playmaking. I think is something that we've identified and will attack, when those opportunities come, when the portal opens.
And Ben, is he?
Oh, yeah. So Ben and his wife, Lauren, got here last night. They flew in late last night, and so they'll be here for a few days. I'll introduce Coach Arbuckle over at we have a recruiting event here following this event, and try to get them to meet some of our players, our staff, and see the community, those types of things.
Brent, for months and months, we said, how can you keep this class together? How can you keep it together? Now that it's over, how tough was it to keep it together?
I don't ever take things for granted. I don't think we had to do anything any different than what we've done in the past in regards to, it's about relationships. You don't see very many of the jet news happening the last 3 years at Oklahoma. Our guys, when they commit, it means something. Again, we're not going to be immune from decommitment. Some of it's by strategy. Some of it, people are free to make their decisions as they see fit. And, so we just continue to be who we've been, be consistent, be real, genuine, honest. When people, you look at this year, I think that people have a voice of reason. There's no panic. They're aligning with the body of work. They're aligning with a university that's represented excellence for a long period of time, and they know nobody. I think you look at college football, nobody's immune to, maybe some things that happened this year to us, and a little bit of the instability environment that you're dealing with. And so I think this is a class that had faith in people and relationships with people, and a belief in seeing, hey, maybe there's even more opportunity. I knew I had opportunity, but maybe there's even more of an opportunity that myself and some other guys in this class that we can come in and be the glue and be, part of the opportunity to, help turn around, what we're trying to build.
Brent, in the official announcement for Coach Arbuckle, he mentioned that the personnel drives the scheme, and that his scheme is formidable around the players. Just how important was that maybe for you in terms of what you were looking for, and for him specifically, how important was that in terms of talking to these recruits and then eventually talking to the players in terms of feeling comfortable? I believe wholeheartedly to win at the highest level, you just can't sit in one thing. That's my experience, and so that was important to me. That I had some video evidence, not interview talk, resume talk, lip service to it. That there's a history of doing exactly that. We have some versatility on our roster. I want to continue to build that. Just believe in that. And but he's already been able to do it, whether it was 13, 12, 11, 21, I-backs, 6 offensive linemen, whatever it is. I was able to see all of those variety of the different personnel groupings when I watched several years of video evidence.
Brent, with Ben, what kind of involvement, if any, will he have during bowl prep? Is that a chance to get a head start on next year at all, or is he just going to be more in sit back and kind of assess everything mode? Yeah,
sit back and assess mode. It's just it's too much to ask of a guy that really doesn't know the personnel, the people, those types of things. And, our staff will handle that.
Second row middle, Parker. Hey, Coach, obviously, as you've discussed, the way the world in college football these days is that sometimes you have to cut a guy with the new scholarship limits, the roster limits. That's just the way it has to be sometimes. And you've mentioned before that when you have a guy on your roster that you have to go through that process with, you guys make a good faith effort to help him land at another institution. I'm curious, how do you navigate that process with recruits when you have a guy that's been committed and you have to tell him, hey, we just don't have room for everybody yet? How do you make sure that you do right by him in kind of parting ways?
Yeah, and maybe offer opportunities still come, just not on the same timeline. That's it. Yeah.
Next to Parker John.
Brent, Bob used to say, excuse me, you get my voice going here. Bob used to say, famously, that when he went to hire Mike Leach, he looked at guys who gave him the hardest time as a defensive coordinator. Did that resonate with you during this search, that you wanted an offensive coordinator that can do things that your defense has trouble with? And in Ben, what are some of those things, qualities that his offense does that you guys would struggle with?
Well, again, I just look at overall schemes, the depth of them, the things that challenge you as a defense, using the multiple personnels, all of the things from a strategy standpoint that are innovative, aggressive, attacking, putting you in conflict. So whether that's pre-snap, post-snap, it's personnel, it's play design, all of those things combined. And then utilization of, how you put in, specializing, certain players and put them in position, leaning on their strengths, all of those things. Some of the things I just talked about are things that, we've struggled with that. But having not competed against him, I can't really testify to the fact of what maybe Coach Stoops talked about when he talked about with Coach Leach. But those are the things I study again, when we're getting ready for an opponent, start just game by game, just watching them and figuring out, okay, this guy knows what he's doing, or this one is going to cause us problems, and we're going to have some, a certain style of game plan that gives us maybe more flexibility and more, disguise and more surprise and things of that nature, or maybe, hey, we can just continue to do what we do. And so all of those things go into it, when I looked at, Coach Arbuckle. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Coach, it's pretty unusual to have three guys from the same school in the same class, but you have that with Carl Albert.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask you, because you talk about it being about more than talent, what are they doing at Carl Albert that makes those guys people that you want to bring in beyond the obvious, which is talent?
Well, I think there's a lot of great qualities when you play for Carl Albert. They're coming from a really strong culture that understands that how important a team is. So the selflessness, the blue-collar mindset, the consistency, the depth of development, preparation, being on a big stage in the high school space, understanding the value of high standards and expectations, and then showing up every day willing to compete, to create value for yourself and to outwork people. All of those, I could probably go on, but I know those are things, I just watch them for the last few years since we've been here together. And those are the qualities I think a lot of the guys that come from that program are going to, have in their tool belt.
Third row on the left, Brandon.
Hey, Coach Reynolds. The guys that you signed at wide receiver, the two that did sign,
Mm-hmm.
one's 6'4", 195, 200 pounds. The other one is 6 foot, 185. How important is size after being in the SEC this year? How important was just getting the bigger wide receiver with you all in this class?
Yeah, big guys that can move, that at times can play like a small guy. I think that's really important. I've seen plenty of guys that are maybe smaller in dimension, but they play big. You're going to get a lot of press coverage, a lot of, again, big, long physical guys up front. They're going to get in the windows that some of the small guys can get through. But it's important that we get size with speed and athletic ability, guys that can make plays. And not just big, not just small, not just fast, but guys that can make competitive, tough plays. And that's what these two guys have shown in high school, and think that they'll be able to bring that as well, coming to Oklahoma. And that's, I think, from a conference standpoint, that'll transition well for both guys.
Okay, we gotta wrap up. Anyone who hasn't asked a question, have one. Thank you, Coach.
All right, appreciate you all.